Talkers. Welcome back to another episode of Teatime Truth Talk with your girl, Alicia, and of course my father,
Rev Rich.
And as always, another great episode. Before we get into it, as always,
subscribe, like, share, and make sure that you hit that bell so you know when there's new episodes. We do have a new show going on Thursdays, as well as our Sunday services, our celebration services. So I hope you can really join us with there. So with that,
of course, as always, our topic. So the topic today is how to love in a world full of hate. I figured this was a great topic to discuss, especially with everything going on in this world. And a person came to me complaining about it, and I figured what better way to help out everyone than through here. So the situation goes as this. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard or watched the news about all the shootings, the war, and many other chaotic things happening. I'm sick of the constant negativity in this world. It is really hard to find anything good living in a world full of hate. What do we do?
stop hating.
Oh, well.
And that's the show for today. No, I'm just joking. The point here is that we spend so much time focused on the negative of the world that we forget that there's more to the story. We had the school shootings, of course, the kids, the teachers that died, we hold them in our prayers. Definitely looking at that. We've had church shootings. I mean, even today I was notified that, even though they weren't part of the Unity family, we hold them as their name had Unity in it, so some people confused it with our movement, but we still hold them in truth. And a lot of times these aren't the only things happening, because the media is looking for stories, and these stories keep popping up. So that seems like one shooting now shows out on all these other shootings where these things have already been happening. Now, I guess a good thing is, and I read this from one of Unity's authors, who used to be a journalist, and she said, be glad when you see things in the news, because when a news stops reporting on something, it isn't because it isn't happening, it's because it's happening so much it's no longer news.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're looking at the news and there's no shootings, but you heard about 3 shootings there, it tells you that you're in a place where it's normal for someone to be shot or whatever, which is definitely not a world we want to live in. But on the same note, if all we do is live our lives based on the negativity happening in the world, then we'll never see the beauty that is out there. And there are so much, like I've told your mother, when things happen, sometimes you got to bring in Pareto's principle, which is that 20-80 rule. Either 80% of the stuff is happening or 20% of the stuff is happening. And I said, in some cases when somebody's done you wrong, we can talk about, maybe someone said something racial. If your focus is on the 20%, then all you're going to remember is what they said. But if at that same moment, 80% of the people in the room apologize for those people because they felt they were ignorant in what they said, but all we do is focus on here, we miss the beauty over here. And it's not to say forget about this, because we are all working toward a better world. So it's the same thing here. You have a young man who went into the school, shot up the school. More of the story came out, police reactions, whatever. We can focus on all the bad stuff that happened, or we can send love to the parents and work together to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and I brought it up because it popped to mind when you told me about what the topic was West Nickel Mine school shooting. And this was in 2006. And so basically the story goes, October 2nd of 2006, a shooting occurred at the West Nickel Mine School, an Amish one-room schoolhouse in the Old Order Amish community of Nickel Mines, a village in Bart Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Gunman Charles Carl Roberts IV took hostages and shot 10 girls aged 6 through 13, killing 5 before committing suicide in the schoolhouse. The emphasis on forgiveness and reconciliation in the Amish country's response was widely discussed in the national media, and if I'm correct, they actually created a movie about this as well. Now, what does it mean by the Amish community's response was widely discussed. So, we're human here, we all do whatever. What would be your response, God forbid, you were married by now, had children, found out they shot up the school, or you may have lost a child, or maybe you didn't even lose a child. Your child is safe and home, but it could have been those children.
A lot of anger and fear would have been brought up right immediately because I couldn't imagine.
Okay, now here's their response. On the day of the shooting, a grandfather of one of the murdered Amish girls was heard warning some young relatives not to hate the killer, saying, "We must not think evil of this man." Another Amish father noted he had a mother and a wife and a soul, and now he stands before a just God. Jack Meyer, a member of the Brethren community living near the Amish in Lancaster, explained, "I don't think there's anybody here that wants to do anything but forgive, and not only reach out to those who have suffered a loss in that way, but to reach out to the family of the man who committed these acts." A Roberts family spokesman said the Amish neighbor comforted the Roberts family hours after the shooting and extended forgiveness to them. Amish community members visited and comforted Roberts' widow, parents, and parents-in-law. One Amish man held Roberts' sobbing father in his arms, reporting for as long as an hour to comfort him. Now, I want you to remember this. They just experienced this person killing 5 girls, injuring how many more?
Mm-hmm.
Yet these people turned away from hate and anger to comfort the family of the man who just killed those kids.
Wow.
The Amish has also set up a charitable fund for the family of the shooter. About 30 of the Amish communities attended Roberts' funeral, and Mary Roberts, the widow of the killer, was one of the few outsiders invited to the funeral of one of the victims. Mary Roberts wrote an open letter to her Amish neighbors, thanking them for their forgiveness, grace, and mercy. She wrote, "Your love for our family has helped to provide the healing we so desperately need. Gifts you have given have touched our hearts in a way no words can describe. Your compassion has reached beyond our family, beyond our community, and in changing our world, and for that we sincerely thank you. The Amish do not normally accept charity, but because of the extreme nature of the tragedy, donations were accepted." Richard Lawlers, director of the Anabaptist Foundation, said the Amish community, whose religious beliefs prohibit them from having health insurance, will likely use the donations to help pay for the medical costs of the hospitalized children. So imagine.
Wow.
Imagine, if you will, someone who can take a tragedy and say there's more to the story. Why did that man do it?
Yeah.
And if in their beliefs they believe that they should not judge, it is for God to judge, and that's their religious beliefs, then they were able to forgive this man. They were able to help the family and do what most traditional religions would say what God called us to do. There's not many of us out here that would do that.
Yeah.
Okay? We get upset because somebody broke up with us and we want to kill somebody, or somebody insulted somebody or whatever. We're looking to fight immediately.
Yeah.
But what if we could live in a place that the Amish live? What if we could live in a space where we can look at the situation and say, well, we understand that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
But we must be the healed people who heal people.
That's honestly, that is. I'm speechless. Sorry, give me a second. Words. But no, you're absolutely right, because it's like, listening to that story, it reminded me of not a Darman video, but what were those videos that we used to watch? It was a black gentleman who used to do the same videos as Darman. It was like Prince something.
Oh, Prince EA.
Yes, and it was the one video where there was a boy that ended up I forgot what he did, but he ended up killing this woman's son.
Mm-hmm.
And in the courtyard, she looked at that boy that committed the crime and said, "I'm going to kill you." Now, spoiler alert, but I do suggest watching the whole video. And by the end, during the whole situation, she went and visited him, and she taught him things, and she took care of him. And by the end of it, she asked him, the little boy who caused the crime, to become her son. And the little boy asked her about how, um, you told me you no, she told him, you remember when I told you I was going to kill you? And he was like, yeah. She goes, well, I did. What I did was I killed that person, that negative person, a long time ago, by giving you the love and respect and the things that you didn't get as a child, and gave you a positive life to becoming a new person you are now. And that really hit home as well. And with that story, I felt like those two like really hit together perfectly.
For our Christian friends or whatever, Jesus said, we must love our enemies as well as forgive those who persecute us.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, forgiveness is more for us, because when we carry this anger. But we also have to realize, and as some people feel it's cold, but it's not, if the tragedy happened, there's nothing we can do to change it. But we can definitely educate ourselves to help it not happen again, which is what the cry in Congress right now is, and all that. That we need to put more regulations out there for gun. I can't in any way say I don't disagree with, how do I say it? There's no way that I can sit here and say that I want to take somebody's rights away. So your right to bear arm is fine. But I also agree with it. What is the reason for assault weapons unless you're part of the military? And somebody said that very coldly. They're like, you wanna buy an assault rifle or an M16? Go join the military.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just the gun, because it's the person. And I've said this before when I've had arguments with people, we should do away with all guns and blah, blah, blah. Look, to each his own, because it's not the gun that's doing the shooting. It's the people behind it. So once again, why I became a unity minister, why I wanted to be a life coach, why I wanted to do that, because I understand the wars in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And I understood that, I'm the one that can either change what I'm thinking or whatever. I also know how it feels when you become overwhelmed. When I had my operation, 16 years now, they told me I would be depressed for the rest of my life. But I made one promise: I would never put a pill in my mouth to save me. And was it a gift? Yeah, because it taught me how to use meditation, how to use journaling, how to use reading, how to use inspirational music, how to use, different tools, rather than putting a pill in my mouth that's going to cause my brain to get used to it. And then I'm got to do like the commercials say, well, just add this to that and this to that and that to that. And, if that's a choice you make to treat your anxiety, whatever, that's fine. But I know for me, I couldn't do that. But at the same note, that makes me understand, if I have a gun in my hand, the only person that controls where that bullet goes is me. As an ex-martial arts teacher, I've had weapons of all kinds. I mean, I remember riding the New York City subway with my training partner, Ricardo, and we're literally holding samurai swords that were sharp enough that it cut my finger to the point I didn't even feel it. It was so sharp.
Jesus.
Okay? But we didn't ride the subway slicing people, because nor did the sword run away and do its thing. It's the people behind it.
Yes.
And that's what's important here. So when we look at these tragedies, if you are a praying person, pray for the people. If you're an atheist, as they say, or agnostic or whatever, hold and send love to them. But also become an ally where you learn and educate yourself and how you can do your part to help that this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get angry. It's easy to hate. It's easy to that. It's not always easy to step and do the right thing, but that's what we need to do, is do the right thing. Trust me, no matter what the cause, it doesn't have to be just these shootings. It could be racial issues. That my mentor is running Project Sanctus right now, and their whole thing is about racism. And it's not about, well, blacks against white, whatever. It's about everybody coming together to understand what exactly it is, what embodied racism is, and actually do the work in their own prospective races as well as combined together. You know, we know the 12-step programs. We know there's so much out there that we can do to help each other. And if we all can be on the same mindset, no, I'm not talking about robotics because I talk about this all the time. I believe we all have an individual gift that this world is waiting for us to show, you know. But I believe that if we all have the same mindset of love, of forgiveness, and we understand our emotions and how to work through them, or as Eric Butterworth says, we don't go through life, we grow through life, we can truly change a generation to come. I can't do anything about what has happened, but I can goddamn do something about what's going to happen. Yeah, no, I'm going to hear about it, but go ahead.
We love when he goes minister mode. That's why I kind of just sat back, loved take the reins for a second there. I love that. But no, he's absolutely right. And everything you said, you are absolutely right, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think another thing to think about as well with with the person in their situation is as well as when they said they can't find any good out of all the hate. My mind, and what I see is you can't find it, create it.
Mhm.
You might think, well, I'm just one person. Well, it always takes that one person and that one follower. I forgot which class I was in back in high school. I think it was Kelchner's. Shout out to you if you're watching. But we were watching a video about this guy stood up in the middle of a park full of thousands and just started dancing and just kept dancing and just didn't stop. It took another person to get up to start dancing with that person, then a couple more, then a couple, and then other people started seeing it, and then the entire park full of people started dancing together. And all it took was that one person to just start dancing. So if you take the time today, tomorrow, whatever, whenever, and just do some good, go help a neighbor, go get some flowers and bring it to somebody, go sing a song to somebody, go draw something, anything, honestly, that one little step could encourage someone else to do something else. One of the things that I love about our household is we definitely use the words pass it on. And one of the things we do a lot is when we go to Aldi's, if you ever go to Aldi's, you're supposed to put a quarter into the cart so that way you're able to use the cart, because I guess their slogan is to use less money by saving a quarter. Every time somebody needs a cart, we just give them the cart, quarter everything in hand, and tell them to keep their quarter. And we're just like, pass it on. And there are times where we see people, and the same people from the time we did it, and they'll do the same thing for someone else. And it becomes this overflowing of positivity and good. There's times where we'll do other things, and you'll see that trail of positivity going through person to person to person to person. And I'll hear stories about somebody doing this and that and that. And it all trails back from that one time that I did this or I did that. And it's just that start. You just have to be able to start. Sorry, words. You have to be able to start somewhere. So you can't find it, create it. And by creating it, you're going to make a plethora of positivity come into this world. Because again, there is a lot of hate, there is a lot of downside and negativity, but by being that first step, it will spread open and it will bring a lot of light into the world that you are looking for just from doing that one simple thing. And I think that's truly one thing that I definitely wanted to bring into this conversation, because we're all human, like he says. We get angry, we have fear, whatever, but to choose to be happy, to choose to forgive, to choose to just enjoy life even in that moment, those are the positivity and the good that you want to look for in the world, while still dealing with the negative and stuff, because by looking at the negative, you learn how to make it positive. You choose to make it positive. Like you said, with our generation especially, we get very upset about breakups and then wanting to kill people and things like that. But one thing I love telling my friends and people that I talk to and coach and therapize, as people call me, is that look at every relationship as a lesson. You end up learning the things you want, and you end up learning the things you don't want. and you learn something within yourself from that relationship. Now, the relationship didn't go as you planned, but you ended up getting 3 new things out of that one relationship. And that is a positive step into maturity, into a new life, into a more positive aspect in your life. And I think that's something that everyone should take in consideration, whether it's relationship, friendship, these the shootings, the things like that, is take it and make it into something positive, or change your aspect into a positive way.
So 2 things I want to touch on is, one, she talks about me going into minister
Yeah.
mode.
Where do you think I get it from?
And 2, it's Pay It Forward, and it's a movie actually, and the only reason I brought it up,
We say pass it.
it's Pay It Forward, and the reason I bring it up because I think it's time to bring that movie back. I mean, it's an older movie, it's a tearjerker, so I will warn you. Okay, but you know, it is important. It's like you said, you know, and I say this all the time for those who have seen, like, you know, we have a spiritual community, we have the Reiki, we have that, but the over umbrella company, it's called With Every Encounter, and it's literally what you just talked about. Every relationship, every book, every movie, every tragedy in life has a lesson in it. It has a gift. You know, during one of our Sunday services, you sang Gift of the Storm, you know, which was written by Faith Rivera. Check it out on YouTube. And for me, it touched me because it's true, because it was literally the embodiment of why I started the company. Because if we can see the gifts of the storm, when things are going bad, if we can see the gifts we're getting, every encounter will bring us a lesson. And that's true. So like she said, you know, you got to relate. You have somebody, you know, we brought up a number of months ago, you know, a certain person who was being judged by everybody because of his past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much more of the rabbit hole do you want to go down? Because I can take you way down and tell you, why don't we look at this person and say, why was he like that? What was he looking for? What is he missing that he acted in that situation? You understand? And if you can find that, you may find out why he's still certain ways, or she is certain ways. So yes, so that's another show.
Yeah.
That's another
No,
show.
I'm not ready. But no, that's true, because especially with that episode, there is definitely things that are still questions and things like that. But like we said, that is for another show, because I'm not ready to go down that rabbit hole just yet. But all in all, yeah. So this is a little bit of a shorter show, because we definitely touched base on a lot of things that were geared to this specifically. Unless you have anything else you need to say about it, no.
I mean, only thing I will tell you is learn about forgiveness.
Yes.
Because it is that, and for those who are into, you know, as Jim Rohn used to say, you know, the Bible's a great book for lessons, take the religiosity out of it. But remember, when Jesus was asked, how many times should we forgive? 7 times 70, and it's not about the number, it's infinity. Learn to forgive everything, because you know what? Forgiveness is more for you. And when you can clear that hatred, anger, whatever the feeling or the emotion is, go through the emotion, but grow through it. And you'll see that perspective and how you see life will change dramatically.
Absolutely. Because I am definitely one for forgiveness, because there are times where it's like certain people will get under my skin, or have, as people would say, betrayed or anything like that. And it takes a lot to forgive somebody after they've hurt you emotionally and mentally. But I went through the emotion, and I grew through that emotion, and I can look at that person and still see them as a person, and not as somebody who betrayed me or an enemy. Just a regular person. No, we're not hanging out and all that other stuff, but I'm able to look at them, because I was able not only to forgive them, but to forgive myself. Because when we get mad at somebody, you can tell that there's always that part of you inside that has a responsibility, like, have some reason why you're mad at that person. And that you have to look within yourself to be like, well, why am I mad at this? And when you figure that out and you learn to forgive, you not only forgive that person, but you forgive yourself as well. And I've had to go through that, and I hope you guys go through that as well from this video, and anything about beyond from that as well. So with that being said, for summary, forgiveness is key Definitely learn to forgive, be able to forgive, teach to forgive, and just know that forgiveness is key in anything and everyone. And it's possible for anyone to learn, to do, and to become. And on top of that, when you're trying to find good in a world full of hate, create that good. Find the good in people. Find the good in an activity. Find the good in anything you can. And be that person to start that good and spread it across the world. And with that being said, as always, we love you. Nothing you can do about it. And we'll see you next time.